Now it's time to practice everything that you just learned about ES6 classes. And so let's now do coding challenge number 2. And the goal of this one is to basically recreate challenge number 1, but this time using an ES6 class. Then besides that, I also want you to add a getter, which should be called speed_us, and this one should return the current speed in miles per hour. So remember that the original speed is in kilometers per hour, and people in the US are usually not used to that, and so we can create a special getter called speed_us. And to do the conversion from kilometers per hour to miles per hour, all you need to do is to divide by 1.6. Then you should also implement a setter with the same name of speed_us, so that people can basically set the speed also in miles per hour. But of course, that value should then be stored in the class as kilometers per hour. And so before storing the value, you need to multiply it by 1.6, so to convert it back to kilometers per hour. And then take this test data number 1 here and create a new car and experiment with all of the methods and getters and setters. So have some fun with this one, and I see you back here once you are ready. Okay, so hopefully you did that without any problems, and you don't even need my solution. But of course, as always, I will still show it to you. And what I'm going to do is to simply copy the code that we wrote earlier, and I will then convert it to a class, because that's actually not that hard. So here we just need to call it class, and let me call it CL again for class. Okay, so then the curly braces, so one in the beginning, one in the end. Then this function is actually called the constructor, and the rest is the same. Here we don't need these, and here we don't need the prototype. So that's the whole point of using classes. And then we don't need this function. And besides that, that's actually it. So that's the constructor function plus the methods that we added to its prototype property, simply converted to a class. All right, so that was pretty easy. Now let's talk about the speed_us getter and setter. So first up, the getter, which is easier. So speed_us, and this one does not need any input. And it will simply return this.speed and then divide it by 1.6 as I instructed up there in the text. All right, and let's already test this now. And the test data here is Ford going at 120 kilometers per hour. So that's a new car CL with the make of Ford and the speed of 120. So let's accelerate here a little bit. But before we do that, let's actually also read the speed in US, because I actually know that 120 is 75 miles per hour. And so then I can know if this actually worked. And this one here simply returns the value. And so we need to log it to the console. All right. So indeed, this 75 here coming from line 270 is this speed_us property. So again, we basically transformed a method here into a property so that we read like this by using a getter. Then we accelerate a little bit, so we increase to 130. And so that means that these methods, they keep working. And so our conversion to class works flawlessly. And now to finish, let's just implement the setter here as well. So set speed_us, and then remember, we always need to take exactly one argument. So that's going to be the speed, of course. And so here we want to set the speed, but of course in kilometers per hour. And so we take the speed and multiply it by 1.6. And so now if we do for.speed equals 50 miles per hour, then let's take a look at the for object. And here, of course, it needs to be US. All right. And so here we set the speed to 50, and then what we get here is 80. And so 80 is indeed 50 times 1.6. And so I think that's actually it. And yeah. So challenge number 2 completed.